All right, today I want to go over some different myths and facts about chiropractic with you. And so, one of the common myths that I hear or get asked about is adjusting yourself. So, adjusting your knuckles or your neck or your low back. And I think it just depends on what you're doing. If you're adjusting your knuckles in your hands, I don't think you're necessarily causing any damage. It's not going to cause arthritis, which is something you often hear. And as long as it's not painful, you're probably not causing any other damage. So if it feels good and you like it, you're probably all right doing it. I wouldn't necessarily say do it on all the time, but at the same time, it's probably not causing any damage. But now your neck and your low back are a little bit different just because the structure and the different things that go through your spine. So in your neck, you have your arteries that can be damaged if you adjust your neck wrong, or you have nerves that can get compressed and cause pain if it's not done correctly. Same thing with your low back. And in your spine, you have discs in between each of your vertebrae that, if not done correctly, you could cause damage to those. And so going to somebody that is well trained and well qualified to get your neck or your low back adjusted can make a difference. And one thing I see commonly with my patients that come in that do like to self-adjust their own neck is once we start working on them and getting the joints, all the joints in the neck moving properly, they don't tend to continue to feel like they have to do it. And so that's the biggest thing, is we want to make sure that when we're trying to adjust somebody's neck or low back, we're looking for joints that are stuck and not moving properly and get those joints adjusted. And that's going to take some of the stress and pressure out of the other areas so you don't feel like you have to. Another myth is that the chiropractic is dangerous. And so you'll often hear that chiropractors cause injuries or that chiropractors cause strokes. And there's been almost or roughly 30 research articles on whether chiropractic care causes stroke or not. And what every single one of those articles has found is that chiropractic care doesn't. What they say is that most of the time that when people are going or have a stroke after chiropractic adjustment is that they were already started down that pathway before they went into the chiropractic for treatment. They might have had neck pain or they might have had a headache, and they didn't recognize it as the starting symptoms of a stroke. And so then once they got adjusted, they just continued to go down that pathway. And so there's very little risk to having a stroke with chiropractic care or having any other kinds of injuries with chiropractic care. And chiropractic care has always been shown to be one of the safest and have the least side effects. Some of the side effects that you might have after an adjustment are some soreness. You might feel like you went to the gym and worked out hard the next day. That is something, if you've never been adjusted before, I do see on a fairly regular basis. But most of the time, after the second or third treatment, you should start to see an improvement. And one thing I always look for with my patients is that we start seeing that improvement fairly quickly after the second or third adjustment. And that's a good indicator that you're going to continue to improve. One of the other things that we often hear is that once you start going to the chiropractor, you continuously have to go. And so my goal with any of my patients is always to teach them things they can do on their own to help overcome it and get them doing the work outside of the office to overcome their pain. Now, occasionally, some people like to come in on a regular basis, and because they like how it feels. Other times, if you have a chronic issue that's not going away, getting a regular adjustment or getting regular treatment once a month or maybe once a quarter can help you from having those issues reoccur. And so sometimes it can be beneficial to get a regular adjustment. But if you just have an acute injury that just happened, then I don't know that you need that regular care. But sometimes people just like to do that. Another myth is that chiropractic adjustments hurt. And maybe the first time you get adjusted or the first couple times you get adjusted, they might be painful. And that's because you're already having pain and there's inflammation in those joints. And so it might be sore or might hurt the first couple times. But as you start to get all those joints moving again better, then that pain and soreness should start to decrease. And there's a lot of different ways we can approach the adjustments to make sure that they aren't pain. We can do more gentle approaches. We can do soft tissue to kind of get things moving a little bit better in the beginning and then start to adjust a little bit more aggressively as you start feeling better. We can do exercises, we can do stretches, different things like that to combat some of the pain people are having in the beginning. And then one of the last things I often hear is that chiropractic is expensive. And that's, I guess that comes from probably you're having to come back on a fairly regular basis in the beginning. You know, a lot of times you'll hear people that come once a week or once every day for the first week or two. Most of the time, my treatment plans, depending on the severity of injury people are dealing with, is twice a week for 3 to 4 weeks. And that's because what we find is if we don't see them on a regular basis, then maybe we get the pain taken care of initially, but then it comes back because we didn't get the problem completely taken care of. And so maybe it does get a little bit expensive in the beginning, but overall, chiropractic care is by far the cheapest type of care you can receive for back or neck pain. And that's been shown many times as through the studies is that it's significantly cheaper than almost any other type of care out there. So I hope that helps. I hope that's answered some questions for you. I'd love to hear any other questions you might have. So if you do have questions, write them down, send them in to us, and I'll be glad to go over those in our next video.